Welcome all heroes and villains to my YouTube channel, more specifically to Conversations with Fjook. Today we are going to go through the history of a channel that I truly care about, a channel that has helped me through a lot of hard times, a channel that seems to honestly care not only about each other, not only the charities they support, but also those that are part of the small community. I could ramble on and on about how this channel is highly underrated and deserves so much love and caring, but at this point, I will let the two members of the channel introduce themselves.
Hey, I'm Jason from Pair of Geeks.
And I'm Becky from Pair of Geeks. Hello.
So did you...
Jason doesn't wear a hat. That's so wrong.
I don't need to.
You're the only one on this call without a hat.
I've got a hairstyle instead.
I have a trademark.
So did you both do YouTube to some degree before you met? And if so, do those channels still exist?
Yeah, we did. So we actually met because of YouTube. So
Yes.
our whole relationship began with a YouTube comment. So yeah, you know, when you're typing in the comments, and it can happen, even on YouTube, where most comments are horrific.
Having said that, you're missing out quite a fundamental point. Is that when I typed this comment to you, you assumed that I was a 50-year-old American trucker called Brian.
I was just statistic. You were probably a 50-year-old American trucker called Brian.
So I had to explain to her I wasn't.
Yeah. And it all began because so basically I used to have a role-playing channel. Jason used to have a role-playing channel. And he commented on one of my videos saying, is that some insert really obscure role-playing game, which I think I've got, just it's out of reach. Yeah, it's in a pile of books. Is that Corporation RPG, which is a really obscure cyberpunk role-playing game? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, we should play that sometime. I'm like, okay. And then I was like, just so you know, I have a bit of an English accent, which, in fairness, he knew. He was watching the video.
Yes.
Turned out he did too, although it's not English.
No.
You're not English?
Anyway, yeah. So
No, I'm Celtic.
Yeah, he's Manx.
Manx.
Little tiny island between countries that matter. Anyway. So yeah, this comment sort of started our whole relationship. We didn't actually sort of get together as a couple till after we'd met, actually.
In person.
Yeah, but yeah, we both had these role-playing channels, and then after we got together, we thought, well, let's why have two different role-playing channels from the same house? Let's just merge them. So we renamed. I had more subscribers at the time, so we renamed that to Pair of Geeks. And then you sort of repurposed your channel for something else entirely.
Although that's not very active anyway at the moment. So yeah, at the minute I'm not making my own videos.
So yeah, that's how it all happened.
So with a name like Pair of Geeks, that makes me think that the channel name, at the very least, came about due to YouTube meeting. So how did you decide on that name in particular?
Oh, we ran a few between us. I believe Pair of Geeks was my idea.
It was your idea.
Yeah. And it was simply, well, look, we're both geeks. There's a pair of us. So let's call ourselves Pair of Geeks. And
yeah, and then you thought of the pair thing. And
yeah, I drew the logo and two very geeky looking pairs.
Yeah, and we've also got a second channel for just live games as well, which we kind of thought of a bit into the channel.
Yeah, well, we were funny because if you look at the content we've got on our channel at the time, because we were just putting everything role playing onto the channel when we first started, So people who liked our informative content would then see our live plays and go, well, I'm not interested in watching live plays, and unsubscribe.
Yeah.
So we thought we'd separate out into the more specific purposes.
Yeah.
Wait, people unsubscribed because part of what you did they didn't like.
Yeah.
I know. Shock horror.
People want very specific things when they, if they subscribe to a channel, it's because they want that type of content.
Yeah.
And when you give them something else, then people will often reconsider that subscription. So yeah, whereas we just thought when we started off, RPGs is our content type. It turns out no, that's because of the style of the videos we were doing, people wanted more of that style. What they didn't want was our live plays necessarily, which is a shame because I think our live plays are quite good, but oh well. It's a different audience is the point.
Yeah.
So so we just decided to create a Pair of Geeks 2 channel for doing the live plays. Yeah.
So geeks are more than just into role playing. Is all your content on Pair of Geeks just role playing content then?
Mostly.
Yeah. That's about as much. It's mostly, but there is some other stuff. We've done some mega game videos.
Yeah.
Did some board game videos.
Yeah, and sort of more kind of like accessory unboxing stuff, and of course there is Complus as well, which I suppose could go into the role playing side of things. But
that came later, really, in terms of the timeline of the channel.
Yeah.
But the and we found that unboxings didn't really work for us.
Well, yeah, they don't get many views.
Again, it's a specific type of audience that wants that kind of thing. So after a couple of them, we didn't do anymore. But we'd done all sorts. We used to do these sort of role playing live chats for a while, didn't we? Where we'd sort of grab a couple of tinnies, we'd sit on this sofa, and we'd talk with our audience about role playing games. And we used to do that every week.
Every Friday night.
So yeah, that was one type of content we did. We did. I think the thing that really established the channel in the early days was they used to do these tutorial videos about how to improve your game. So like running a better RPG game, and I'd just take a concept and I'd make a fun video, often with miniatures involved, to sort of demonstrate my concepts. And I'd do little silly skits with the minis and things like that.
Yeah, people really liked your big miniature setups, I think.
Yeah, I used to make that stuff just for the videos as well, because I never used to play with it in real life. Just very occasionally, I'd do a game with minis. But yeah, so and I think that's what really put the channel on the map back when it was growing. And if I wanted to grow the channel again, I guess that's the content I would make.
So one of the things that Pair of Geeks does is the Con Plus convention. I know you've mentioned it before, but I would like to hear it again and have it documented. What was Con Plus before it was Con Plus?
Well, it was Brigade Con. It wasn't originally conceived by us. It was conceived by a group of people on a group that I was in at the time called the RPG Brigade. It is still around, but it's a very sort of different thing now. It's a lot bigger. There's different people and stuff. But yeah, a few people had this idea of why don't we just create a little convention for the group, raise some money for a charity, and have a bit of fun. And it was kind of quite a small, low-profile thing to begin with, and they raised about $1,000, I think, for Child's Play the first year, and then it started growing a bit, and more sponsors were coming in and things like that. But it was always for Child's Play, and there was always kind of, oh, sorry, a kitty sort of meowing and playing in the background. It was always kind of with that aim of trying to get a bit more money every year for Child's Play and do more things and slowly expand. But then after a few years of doing that, there was a time when I had to kind of manage the con at the last minute because somebody wasn't able to do it. So I had a bit of experience running it myself. Then, yeah, there was basically the manager or the main organizer wants to step down from that. And and asked us if we would be happy to take it over. And we said yes, but we would like to kind of, again, rebrand it, change the name, probably change the charity as well, just again for a change and a contrast, which that was all agreed.
Well, if I remember rightly, the name change was something he wanted us to do.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It was like, do you want to take over this charity convention within this group, but I'd like you to call it something else.
That's right. Yeah.
And the whole change of charity, again, that was never something we discussed with him at all, because that didn't happen until our second year.
Oh yeah.
And that was more because
it was such a long time ago.
And that's more because we discovered this other charity and just wanted to support that, really, because it was just such a wonderful cause.
Yeah, that's right. Because the first year we did Plus, we did still use Child's Play, but then you found this other charity, again, fairly last minute, but you did manage to kind of talk to them and do a little video.
Well, I found them. It was last minute before Plus1.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I got talking to them 2 weeks before Plus1. And sort of discovered this charity, and we couldn't change Plus1 at that point. Plus1 was for Child's Play. All the sponsors were backing it and everything else. But we decided that for Plus2 we'd support the Butterfly Project. Yeah.
And it's been like that ever since.
So
getting ready for Plus4.
It sounds like you've already answered this question, but I'm going to ask it anyways. How do you pick the charity for the first year of Plus?
Really, I think we just inherited Brigade Con. It was for Child's Play. But I think even in that first year, although we knew we were doing it for Child's Play, I think it was in our minds then that we wanted to find a charity that we could make a bigger difference to.
Yeah.
Because Child's Play raises something like $160 million a year. Like, we're just raising a couple of grand. We're not going to make a real difference to a charity like that. And I remember, because part of what we do for these charity events is we stream for 24 hours doing prize giveaways of RPG stuff. And during 24 hours, we want to be able to sort of drop some footage in of what the charity actually does. And when you've got a charity as big as that, that's working with hospitals, we were trying to get permission to film at a hospital where they've made a difference. And the bottom line was they weren't making the kind of differences you'd really want to see to children who needed it with all this money they were raising. And it was a nightmare trying to get permission to film.
We couldn't get anyone near them.
We nearly got a friend of ours to get into an American hospital, but then the hospital changed its mind, didn't it, or something? I can't remember the exact details because he was dealing with it. But they were at first they were like, yeah, let's do it, and then they went, no, it's like you're too small. So they didn't want the hassle for what we'd raised. And so I think even on that first year, we kind of knew that we wanted to find a charity where we could make a bigger difference to that charity. And also, I think we just wanted somewhere where the charity would make more of a difference, and more so outside of America, because Child's Play, all that money it raises, but most of that money, 95%, stays or goes to the US, the US healthcare system, which is a for-profit system. So I didn't really feel that as a charity it was something I wanted to do that much work for. It didn't inspire me to want to put that level of effort in. But I wanted to keep this concept of this platform of Plus, but I just felt Child's Play wasn't right for us. It wasn't a good fit. So I wanted to find something else, and it was purely by accident that we did. And the charity we support now has been absolutely amazing. They film footage for us of the kids, and I've spoken to the kids during the telethon events.
They've the last couple of years, I think they've done their own streams as well of games that people can tune in and watch.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been complete difference.
So I went. So I found your channel probably a month or two before Con Plus One. I stopped in for a few moments at Con Plus One. I don't think you guys even noticed me. But
to be fair, when you're kind of in that zone of 24 hours and you're so tired, it's very easy to miss little tiny things, like if somebody pops in.
You know what, it might at the time, but you know what? Because I ended up rewatching so much of the convention. So often where I've had to refer back to the videos and find clips for use in this, that, and the other. I'm pretty sure that when Con Plus 2 came around, I did recognize you as a returning visitor.
Well, after getting to know you guys through your live streams, I made the decision to try and be there for the full 24 hours of all the Con Plus going onward from that point. I so far have come to like 22 and a half hours.
Well, we made, what was it, Con Plus 3? I think we did 26 and a half, wasn't it, in the end?
Yeah.
We went behind schedule.
Yeah.
And with being at Con Plus 2 and Con Plus 3, I really should know the other host's name, but I don't. But anyways, how did you meet him?
Lloyd, it was the weirdest thing. Do you remember it? Because you were there. I'm trying to remember the name. I think it was called Dragon. No, not Dragon Meet. Oh, that funny little convention in Oxfordshire. Games Fest.
Oh, was it Games Fest?
It was Games Fest.
I can't remember if I met him before then.
You may have.
I may have done at the expo because there's all the games on demand stuff. So maybe I did know him before you.
It's quite possible. I will never forget meeting Lloyd for the first time.
Yeah, yours was quite memorable.
Because like we're there to film this sort of small provincial RPG convention, right, and put a video together. So we're there, we've got the camera, and back then we only had like a small handheld camera.
He asked me to run a game as well there, which has a Vestron.
Yeah, well, the review of that convention was something else entirely. It's not one we've been back to, put it that way. So anyway, we're in the foyer at the time, and this guy enthusiastically said, "Oh, hello, Becky," and it was like we'd already met with the way his persona was.
Yeah.
So I kind of talking to him as if I know this guy, because he's talking to me like he knows me, and I have no clue who I'm talking to, none at all. But he's calling me by name. He said, "It's Lloyd," like I know him. And I'm like,
cool.
Hey, how have you been doing? You're right. No idea who he was. And that's how we met. I still to this day do not know where he knew me from.
Have you asked him?
No, but I assume it's because of the channel and the stuff in the RPG community.
Yeah,
but I had no clue who he was up until that point. So anyway, after that point, having met him in this very gregarious way, because Lloyd is perhaps the most gregarious person I've ever met. I obviously then would say hello and sort of stuff. So we became friends, and when it came round to Con Plus 1, we knew we wanted a third person to help present because it's 24 hours, and we thought 3 chances of trying to make it through would help. So we invited him along, and he came. And back then, I didn't even know that he worked in the RPG community, so he brought a sponsor with him, which was even better, because it's quite a major one. And then in the second year, he came back and was just as energetic and stuff as ever, because he just has so much energy. I remember the first year, he had actually, before he turned up, and he had the train ride to get here, which is about 2 hours, and he'd done a full day's work. He'd barely slept the night before, where he'd then done work in the evening and worked his day because he had 2 jobs at that point. So he'd had no sleep for about 3 days. And he still had so much energy.
He did fall asleep for a few hours, but then it's like, well, you were working, so it's fine. We can manage.
So and obviously would have loved to have had him at Com+3, but lockdown was in place, and he lives in London and just can't can't take those kind of risks at that point in time. So we had to do it without him for Com+3. But hopefully,
fingers crossed.
Hopefully, all faith in the vaccine and everything else.
So, how would you go about finding people to sponsor Con Plus? As my final question of the night. I'm sure we'll have more. I'll have more questions for you guys in the future, but that will be the final one for tonight.
I mean, most of the time, we liaise digitally, especially at the moment, given COVID. It's just so much easier to communicate digitally, rather than say like in person and things like that. We've got to kind of have chats to people at the expo through the years. There has been a bit of networking involved.
I think if you actually sort of break down where we've found most of our sponsors from, it would have to probably be the expo, like in person rather than via email.
Yeah, it depends, because like especially last year, because we were trying to get not necessarily more than the year before, but still a good amount. We had to kind of put out our feelers to brand new people we'd never spoken to before, and get that on board. And we did really well with that. People were more than happy to come on for this year.
But I think last year was such a strange one because of lockdown, because it was put together in 6 weeks. It was very different. I think we actually did have less sponsors than the year before.
We had a little less, but it was still.
But when you bear in mind, some companies were even closed. A lot of our existing contacts we couldn't even get hold of because they were shut down.
That's very true.
There were a few companies that, because we'd networked with them on a personal level, we were able to get them to back us even though they were shut down, which was amazing. But there were some that they just didn't even get their email until they were back, But I think over the years, the majority of our contacts have come from walking around the trade shows and just going up to people. And I think what really helps with that is when we're doing that, we actually take around with us a lot of professional videography gear. So we have a big camera, it's on, the proper sort of Steadicam type rig. We got the sound system, proper microphones and everything else. So we go around looking like we're a professional film crew, and we've actually had sponsors chasing us down the aisles before because they want to be interviewed by whoever that TV channel is.
It's kind of weird how well that's worked so far.
Yeah, and so this. And all it is really, it's a regular camera. It's a good one, but it's a camera mounted on a rig. That wasn't even that expensive, but it makes it look like this big television camera rig. I mean, I suppose in a way it kind of is.
Yeah, but, it is. Don't put it down.
But it's the most amazing conversion rate tool. Because like I say, when the sponsors are actually chasing you up the aisle, it's a lot easier to get them over the line. And then when you say, well, we're here as a charity, and they go, what do you mean? And then you get talking and everything else.
Do the pitch, blah blah.
Yeah. And I think we actually, if you look at our conversion rate of when we speak to people in that situation, I think I can't think of very many no's.
Very few.
Yeah, I think we've gone to trade shows where we've walked around for days talking to different sponsors doing that, and we've maybe had 1 or 2 no's. The downside, of course, is we spend a lot of time talking to each one to get to know them very well. So you don't get to see the whole convention because you're doing this work instead.
But it's worth it.
It is, and I think for us, because when we actually first met in person, it was at UK Games Expo, which, for those who don't know, it's the second biggest role-playing convention in the world behind Gen Con.
Give or take Essen as well.
Well, it's smaller than Essen, but Essen is only board games,
isn't it? Yeah.
UK Games Expo is board games and role playing.
And a bazillion other things.
And yeah, many other things, sometimes even improv theatre. But it is the second biggest role playing convention in the world, and it is huge. You know, it's a multi-day event. They fill up. Well, last time we were there, it was 3 halls of the
Three halls. They were intending to expand even more, I think, but again,
it was going to be 4
halls
for the year it's cancelled. Yeah, but they also take up the nearby hotels as well. So it's a big event, and it's, as I say, where we met in person for the very first time. So for us, it's like we will always continue to go to Expo.
Yeah, that's definitely a tradition of ours.
Yeah, but the last few times we did it, we really take the Saturday for ourselves.
Yeah, but also it works quite well because it's so difficult to actually get any interviews at all because people just want to sell on Saturday because so many people come.
Because that's the busiest day.
Yeah.
So we don't go looking for sponsors on the Saturday, but the Thursday, because we're there the night before, and we do start talking to sponsors on the Thursday at the press preview, and then the Friday, and then the Sunday at the end of it all. We might do a little bit of shopping at the end.
It's hectic, but good hectic.
Yeah, and I love it really, but it's exhausting.
So in short, you can't really enjoy conventions like you used to before.
I wouldn't say not enjoy. It's just different.
Yeah, I would agree.
Because before we did that, I would put myself to borderline exhaustion from running so many games. I was running like 5 games that weekend just so I got a free hotel room.
Yeah, that's what you did the year we met.
Yeah, which actually, thinking about it, is probably harder because mentally it's harder. Whereas I guess going around interviewing is physically more difficult, more tiring. But you are essentially, you're not doing the same thing, but it's similar. So your brain can switch off sometimes. Or like when we take turns, like doing the camera, as long as you keep a steady hand, your brain can switch off for a bit. So it's different.
I don't know. I find when I'm working the camera, I'm still mentally active actually, but
my mind kind of wanders off a bit. As long as I'm keeping a steady hand
around more over the camera, don't I?
Yeah, it's true.
But I mean, I think as well, like over the years, we'd often do more than just UK Games Expo, being very much kicking tail in the face. We'd do more than just Games Expo, like we did Dragon Con as well. Dragon Meet, sorry, which was a good one. But we've found we tried doing it at the smaller conventions as well, but you might only have you might pick up one sponsor at something like that.
Yeah, just like
not worth the petrol at that point.
If you've got 10 people on the stalls, then that's quite big for the small conventions. I found.
Like you go to something like Concrete Cow, and they'll have at most 2 exhibitors.
Yeah.
And then you go, well, are they the kind of people that will sponsor us, or are they just a shop? Because nothing wrong with RPG shops and FLGSs, I love them, but they're not the right kind of fit for sponsoring Con Plus because they haven't got their own product.
And we did go to Fighting Fantasy Fest as well. And picked a few of them there.
Did we pick up sponsors there? We met several of our sponsors. Because we met Ian, we met Atlantis, we met Andy from D&B Games, but they were already sponsors. I don't think we gained a new one. Oh, we met All Rolled Up.
That's true. We did get All Rolled Up.
What's his name? The Cthulhu hacker. I'm trying to remember his name.
I know what he looks like. I can see him.
Yeah, but the thing is, at that point, we kind of realised we know everyone in this industry. So, like going to these conventions now, it's like
you just know people now.
Yeah, so it's really a case of catching up and stuff. And I think when Expo comes back, because it will be in a couple of years, that there will be some new people there, and we'll always keep going and try to pick up all the new people. But a lot of it now is because we've met everyone apart from the biggie, which still remain on our hit list.
The big W.
Because they don't go to expos that they don't organise. They only do their own one, don't they? So yes, they who shall not be named because they're not a sponsor. Behind a certain very popular RPG. We haven't got them on board. Everyone else, we either have on board or will have, or have had. So yeah, and to be honest, I kind of love it now because like when like the last time we went to Expo in particular, because I think that was the last convention we did, wasn't it? Wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was it was Expo. And we still, you know, because of the size of Expo, you'll always pick up you'll always meet new people. But because of what we've been doing for the last several years, you know, that kind of networking of like you go into this place and like you know so many people, it's actually massively changed my Expo experience. You know, because I remember I was talking to they're big YouTubers. I'm trying to remember their name. You used to watch them.
No Pun Included.
Yeah, I was talking to the guy from No Pun Included. It was during the Cthulhu Masters, because every year at Expo, my day of role playing, I'd often do the Cthulhu Masters.
And I quite often run it as well.
Yeah, and during the break in the Masters, Cthulhu Masters game, I was talking to the No Pun Included guy, and then, you know, Tom Vassell comes along, and so the No Pun Included guy knows Tom Vassell, so they start having a conversation, and I get to meet Tom Vassell, and you know, yeah, he's huge in the board gaming space. I know he's not into RPGs at all, but you know, and you know, that kind of networking it's kind of fun because you're meeting these like often huge people, you know, and I've interviewed twice now for Plus Jason Blolmer.
Yeah.
I interviewed Graham from Paizo, and I'm trying to remember his last name, McCreary.
Yeah. And Amanda.
Yeah, well, Amanda's more Starfinder.
Yes, true. But he's got her in anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, Graham and Jason are huge names in the industry as a whole because of, you know, what their history with it. And you know, you've interviewed Mike.
Yeah.
We get to play with Mike now from Chaosium. You know, he's like, I know people say sort of Sandy Peterson is Mr. Cthulhu. I like to think of it as is Mr. Cthulhu US.
Yes.
But Mike Mason is Mr. Cthulhu UK. You know, and we get to play game. We get to RPG with him now, out of doing this convention. So you know, I wouldn't change it for the world.
No.
It is hard work, but it's very rewarding. On the other side, though, I think what the convention has done is kind of killed off on a YouTube channel.
Yes, if you want to put it in such a dramatic way.
Yeah, I mean, because we, you know, it takes so much out of us and so much of the year to put this convention on.
Usually, except for the 6-week one where we just did it flat out non-stop.
Yeah, well, that's because we weren't working.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly. That's very true. Actually, we were furloughed.
Like next Plus, it will take us several months of work to put it together. So, and then after that, you kind of just want to break from it all for a while, and yet the convention doesn't let you because you've got to email everyone and deal with the prizes, post things out for months after the convention. And you know, the work kind of doesn't stop, and then eventually the convention lets you go for a couple of months, and then you're like, we need to start thinking about next year.
Well, you do, and I say no. I'm like, no, I want a mental break away from that for a bit, and then I will come back.
So I think we were still doing videos after Con+1.
Yes.
We were still doing the live chats, but after Con+2, I think like the other stuff of the channel started to get less and less. And I think the last videos we did were, which were, you know, role-playing advice content, that stuff which kind of built the channel, was we went to Kirby Hall, didn't we? We did the country houses, and I thought quite a good one where I was talking a lot about history, because a lot of the research for that video I'd already done, because we were going to do one on the Battle of Northampton, which we were going to do, having already done the Naseby battlefield video. But we never filmed that. So I instead sort of did one from home, but with all this tons of historical research in it, so it was quite a good video. But I think those were kind of like the last two. And then after Con+3, I mean, what we do on the channel is after each con is we release all of the films that we made for Con+.
Yeah.
That's the other thing, we'll be filming for Con+ for half a year beforehand, just filming the interviews, and the amount of hours in the editing room alone, just to get all this footage prepared. Because when we're streaming live for 24 hours, but we drop in all these sort of like 5, 10, 20-minute sort of segments that we've pre-prepared, and that stuff takes months. So it just doesn't leave time for keeping the channel as active as we were when it was growing rapidly, really. But on balance, I think I'd rather do Con+ than have a successful YouTube channel.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for your time.
That's okay.
Oh, thank you for having us. It's like my third visit to your channel now. You're addicted to me.
I will probably have another interview for you guys close to the Con+ about actually Con+.
Cool. Yeah, and we can talk about all the exciting things we've got coming, which at the moment we don't have coming. So
yeah. We've got nothing.
Well, I know Prizefighter will have improved.
Well, yeah, of course, but yeah, we've not got any firm plans or anything we can really tell you yet.
No, but it has been on my mind the last few weeks that we need to start thinking about it.
Becky will probably wear that hat.
Oh, well, that's a given. This is the Pair of Geeks hat. I mean, I have the other one that I wear occasionally, but almost...
It's doing these weird things with the lighting when you move it. Have you noticed?
Yeah. I mean, it's like because you were interviewing for Pair of Geeks today, I thought I've got to put it. I can't not.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm dressed like a slob. I've been working at home for months. I'm in this terrible V-neck purple jumper.
How are you going to lift that up then for a minute?
But I thought, in spite of all of that, I have to put the hat on. Because I can't not wear the jumper. If you've seen the t-shirt, it's the Rode microphone t-shirt that we got for making that short film.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We did this. It was a very random thing. We put it on Pair of Geeks 2. We made a short film. We entered it into a film contest. I think we ranked in the top 100.
We did.
It's one of the biggest film contests in the world, so it's pretty good. I don't think we were as high as that in the end.
We were for a bit, but I think we kind of went down a bit.
But it was pretty cool. It kind of had a Cthulhu inspiration, though it wasn't RPGs. The rule of the contest, though, is it had to be inside 3 minutes.
Which
like
was
the film
hard.
had to be cut down to 3 minutes. We filmed about 5 minutes worth of story and 8 minutes worth of footage. And had to make it work.
Storyboard as well.
Oh yeah, the storyboard is from our film. Yeah. It's just a random thing that's on Pair of Geeks 2, which isn't a live play or anything. It's just, why is there this weird short film with a sort of Cthulhu-ish subplot? I don't know. It's just random.
Well,
but anyway,
I'll see you guys in your live plays, and I'll talk to you later.
Okay. Take care. Bye-bye now.